The location and true story of Eden, and the creation of man. Have we finally found the Garden of Eden? Is it as beautiful as described, or more darker? You will find out in this video. This video will be split into two parts, two sources, the Bible and the Sumerian tablets. Let's begin with the Bible. We'll go over sentences in the Bible and explain them. In the Bible it is said that God created Adam from red clay soil, in the Garden of Eden, and from his rib created Eve. But where is this Garden of Eden? Well, let's first begin with the book of Amos chapter 1 verse 5. Stated.
Amos chapter 1 verse 5. I will break also the bar of Damascus, and cut off the inhabitant from the plain of Avon, and him that holdeth the sceptre from the house of Eden, and the people of Syria shall go into captivity unto Kir, saith the Lord.
The sceptre from the house of Eden stands for the rulers/heirs of Eden. They are supposed to be located near Damascus and Syria, which brings us already to a place to start.
Isaiah chapter 37 verse 12. Have the gods of the nations delivered them which my fathers have destroyed, as Gozan, and Haran, and Rezeph, and the children of Eden which were in Telassar?
Telassar is a hill in Assyria, now northern Iraq. Haran is located in Turkey, very close near the border of Syria. The Gozan is referenced again in
2 Kings chapter 17 verse 6. In the 9th year of Hoshea the king of Assyria took Samaria, and carried Israel away into Assyria, and placed them in Halah and in Habor by the river of Gozan, and in the cities of the Medes.
The cities of the Medes are southern Turkey. The river Habor is Kaibor. There are two rivers with this name today. One in Syria and one in Iraq. The Kaibor in Syria is located to the northeast of Syria, which branches from the Euphrates. And the Kaibor in Iraq, also called Little Kaibor, which branches from the Tigris and is next to Mount Judy and the city of Sukkot, which used to be called the Jerusalem of Iraq, because it was the biggest city with the most Jewish population outside of Jerusalem for many centuries. Near this city is a village called Charan. Char is Hebrew for mountain, and Charan was also the name of the son of Terah, the brother of Abraham.
Genesis chapter 2 verse 9. And out of the ground made the Lord God to grow every tree that is pleasant to the sight, and good for food, the tree of life also in the midst of the garden, and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Genesis chapter 2 verse 8. And the Lord God planted a garden eastward in Eden, and there he put the man whom he had formed.
Near Cyprus we find a place called Adana, which may be a derivation of Eden. It is said the Garden of Eden was planted east of Eden, which is in the areas we have been talking about, and could also make Syria the scepter from the house of Eden.
Genesis chapter 2 verse 10. And a river went out of Eden to water the garden, and from thence it was parted, and became into 4 heads. Genesis chapter 2 verse 11. The name of the first is Pison, that is it which compasseth the whole land of Havilah, where there is gold. Genesis chapter 2 verse 12. And the gold of that land is good, there is bdellium and the onyx stone. Genesis chapter 2 verse 13. And the name of the second river is Gihon, the same is it that compasseth the whole land of Ethiopia.
Hebrew word is Cush, which is one of the sons of Han.
Genesis chapter 2 verse 14. And the name of the third river is Hiddekel, that is it which goeth toward the east of Assyria. And the fourth river is Euphrates.
Hiddekel is an ancient name of Tigris. When finding the source of all the rivers we come to a place called Diyarbakir. In it we have a shield volcano named Karaca Dag, which causes the rivers to split. The volcano contains a wild-grown wheat, which when done the research, is the origin/forefather of all Meyer wheats plants we have in use today. On the volcano we can found a bright reddish clay soil. Adam's name is a term, branch of the word Edam in Hebrew meaning red. God made Adam from red clay earth. Also the name of this ground is called edama. Blood is called dam in Hebrew for its red color. In the north, the rivers encircle Elasa, which is known for its minerals and gold, which can be traced back to Genesis 2:11 and Genesis 2:12. Compasseth means encircling. The area of our Raqqa could be the river of Cush. Located north we find the ancient city of Haran next to the river of Euphrates, or the river of fruit, which is associated with Eden, which is the area that Abraham went to before going to the land of Canaan. Just to the northwest of it we find a city named Sanlarfa or Urfa, which people believe to be the Ur of the Chaldees, which is the home city of Abraham. In the city of Haran, we find the oldest known university, where we also find a tower, which is now used for space observation, and it looks like it's built from another tower, which could very well have been the Tower of Babel, which could make this plain the Garden of Eden, and the entire Middle East the land of Eden, according to the Bible. Now let's dive even deeper into history. To the birthplace of civilization, the beginning of religion, the beginning of science, the first war, and where the first word was written. Ancient Samaria.
It's one of Iraq's most famous archaeological sites, rising from the desert near Nasiriyah in the southeast, the Ziggurat of Ur, a massive 4,000-year-old temple pyramid, and the surrounding ruins of an ancient Sumerian city,
which was located again on the Euphrates and Tigris down to today Lower Iraq, where in 1922 an English archaeologist C. Leonard Woolley found the location of the ancient city of Ur, trying to find Eden and prove the Bible. Funded by biblical societies, and other more dark, like the Freemasonry, which is part of the Illuminati. More information about the Illuminati you can find in one of our previous videos, the link will be in the description, and can be found above. But they ignored the legend and stories found there, which suggested these cities and locations of the Bible they were looking for, were located elsewhere, and so never found them. In 1849 Henry Laird found 20,000 tablets, as well Sumerian as Akkadian, in northwest of Ur, in the ancient cities of Sippar and Nippur. Whilst excavating the Sippar site, with a dozen of them talking about Eden. Cultures like the Assyrians and Babylonians in the same area valued what the Sumerians did, and made a project of translating the Sumerian tablets, which is the only reason we can read them today. Although many of these translations were translated wrong in many different ways, which created all religions we know of today. Only one man, Anton Parks, saw this and was able to decipher the real text. Which brings us to the true and more darker story of Eden. As well, the words as the actual location have been mistranslated. In the biblical texts we mainly read about heaven or paradise, which comes from the Greek word paradisios, which literally means enclosure for wild animals. Paradise is a term later described as garden during the Hellenistic era. If we go back to the literal translations of the Sumerian tablets, it says,
"The men who serve the gods work for them in the garden and are treated like animals."
It's a very clear and recurrent theme. So from this alone we see that the garden is not a paradise, but more a concentration camp. The word Karsaj or Karsag in the tablets mean the city of the gods, and all the highest locations in Turkey are called Karadog, which resembles Karsag. The Karadog Mountain stands close to the Mesopotamian plain, is tributary to the Tigris, and only a few kilometers from the Euphrates. It's located 29 kilometers south from the city Sirte, and 19 kilometers southwest of the city Ur. In these tablets also is said that again 4 rivers emerge from the Garden of Eden, which are the Tigris, the Euphrates, Kaibor, Gozan. These tablets also tell us how the garden was created. The tablets read,
"The gods came in strength from beyond time, they were carried, one day, by the rebellion of the universe. When gods arrived at the earth they settled on the mountain to create a colony and survive. They suffered damage from a war and so ended up on this mountain."
Many believe they were from the Pleiadian star cluster, where there has been fought a big war, the Great Galactic War, which created the annunas or Anunnaki. During this conflict you had a matriarchal regime and a patriarchal one. The land table says,
"These gods are going to change the way life gets implanted on Earth. The gods are going to create new conditions for life to bloom, for their colony to thrive."
The Epic of Ashahasis, and others say,
"The earth is being administered by a conference/group of gods, in an assembly, with at the top the Prime Minister or CEO,
aka God and his angels. The leader called Anu, God, and his sons Enki and Enlil, Lucifer and Michael.
Enlil is an overarching aggressive being, the god of war, and does not really care about humans, the same as many of the gods, However, Enki, the trickster, god of wisdom, and a few other, do care about humankind and are more the scientists of the group, and intervenes on the human level.
The tablets of Eden talk about these gods as human beings with reptilian features. The arrival of the gods would be around 300,000 years ago. And as a fact, only 100,000 years later the Homo sapiens arrived. Eden is actually a word of two words in Sumerian. E means home, and Den means life. In the tablets is clearly spoken of the annunas creating workers for themselves. Enki, as a scientist, was responsible to create a new gene for enlil within these human, to create a new left brain, well-disciplined, working, slave species. The tablets speak of the sacrifice of one of the gods, which blood is mixed with the soil of the earth to create the first viable human being, aka the creation of Adam, which explains the red soil on the volcano where Adam was created, since these beings are described as giants. The tablets say they take the genes of their opponents, which they consider inferior, who they name as Kingu, to create the new human who is going to serve them. Which brings us to human chromosome number 2. It is the second largest chromosome in the human's body, which forms 8% of the DNA in every cell. The mystery behind this is that it seems to be the results of an ancient fusion of pre-existing chromosomes from primates, that have been fused in a very precise way, so it is stabilized and optimized for us today. Which cannot be explained by science to this day. It is the gene that sets us apart from all other forms of life. The tablets speak of Enki modifying the human beings in secret by group or location, with knowledge and abilities we are not supposed to have, called today as enlightenment, the ability to think for yourself and see through the lies, by unlocking the key or keys within ourselves. The key to heaven spoken of in the Bible by Jesus and other religions, are our chakras. Turning the other gods against him and his accomplices, and so creating the war and the fall of Lucifer and his accomplices in the Bible. Since they did not want this, as said before, they wanted a left brain, well-disciplined, working, slave species. Not an enlightened species that could think for themselves. And this is repeated many times in the tablets. Adam in the Sumerian language means animals. Enlil is often referred to as the great satam or Satan, meaning the great or master administrator in Sumerian. In the Sumerian text, Enlil asks Enki in a systematically way to negotiate with the humans, since he is among them most of the time, and wants to treat them equal as the other gods. Enki is a humanoid being with reptilian features, which makes him being called very often the serpent in the Bible, and in Sumerian text, he is a friend of the humans. In the biblical text, the serpent treats Eve with the apple of forbidden knowledge. Yahweh or God forbids the humans in the Garden of Eden to eat from it. However, in Sumerian texts, Yahweh translates to the great satam, which is Enlil. And the serpent in the garden is Enki, who has become a friend of the humans. Why in both texts did Enki reach out to the woman? There are two reasons for this. The first, the woman is more accessible and available when she was in the garden. Second reason is that women are the future of mankind, they bear and bring the children to this world, and they raise them. The apple of the forbidden knowledge is actually the knowledge to create tools to defend themselves, for Enki wants to set the humans free. These tools are the chakras which he has given Trough his DNA manipulation. The tablets speak of something that the Bible does not, the humans actually rebelling one day. This story you can find on our YouTube channel, in the video The True Story of Lucifer. Again, link is in the description and above. Which caused the fall of man in the Bible, which made the story of the Bible and some other religions we know today deliberately left out and changed some details to let us free but still keep us imprisoned and enslaved by the gods, angels, and hereby ending the story of Eden in this video. We will talk more about the ancient Sumerians and their tablets in one of our next videos. If you like this video, make sure to leave us a like to let us know. Also comment below what you think of this and what details we might have missed. Also make sure to subscribe and click the notification bell so you will be notified immediately when we upload a new video.